Hey everybody, I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside and welcome to As Above, So Below, a rune and tarot divination for Thursday, the 2nd day of May, 2024. Well, a day of reciprocity and love and healing and balance is a 2 here for today. That's a nice way to end the week here for our readings. If this is your first time here, welcome. I'm so glad you came by, and if you've been here before, thank you for coming back. I appreciate it. If you haven't yet clicked subscribe, I'd love you to do that. And if you end up liking the reading, I hope you give it a like as well. So let's go ahead here and start out by taking the runes just to get us going as the significators for the reading. That's just a fancy word for saying the overall focus of it. But here we have Kenaz. Now, Kenaz is the 6th rune of the Elder Futhark. It looks, direction matters on this. This is open to expressing the light of spirit outward. This would be as drawing it inward. This would be drawing it down from spirit. And this would be expressing it into form. In terms of keeping you grounded in spirit, essentially. But it essentially means the torch, which means, and what do torches do? They illuminate. They bring clarity. They reveal. They heal. It's about well-being and love and all of that. But it's expressing that light of spirit out to everyone. Let's take a look at I'm going to grab the right thing here. Let's throw down the 4 elemental geomancy runes and discover what our geomancy rune is for the reading. Here we go. I'm going to put this in the order of fire, air, water, and earth. Oh, we have Caput Draconis. There's 8 concepts in geomancy, and you look at both sides of each end of the spectrum of each one. So even though there's 8 concepts, it makes us have 16 runes. And let's see. And Caput Draconis reflects the north node of the moon, and it reflects the future. Cauda Draconis is complement. The other side of that equation is the tail of the dragon, and it represents the south node of the moon, whereas this is the head of the dragon with Caput. Cauda is the tail. So this would be about karma and about past life, or just, if not a past life itself, past experience that you're learning from, basically. And how does that, in other words, how does this impact the present? How does the past impact the present, or karma? With Caput Draconis, though, how does our present and the choices we make in the present impact the future? So if the future is going to indicate one thing or another, then depending upon, where the north node of the moon is, what sign it's in, that's going to influence it astrologically. But in terms of the reading, how will our actions in the present impact our future? And so are they going to reflect spirit? Are they going to reflect, or are they going to reflect the ego? And so Kenaz is suggesting we might want to have it reflect spirit. So the expression of spirit in our lives, how do we manifest that? How do we express it? And how does that then impact our future? So that might be a way to say it. But let's go ahead and I've done some shuffling already. I'm just going to shuffle a little bit more, and then I'll cut the deck and we'll take the lower half and pull 3 cards. Oh, well. So, to align really well with Kenaz, we have 2 cards from the Major Arcana, but we also have the Ace of Cups. And the Ace tends to have more power because it's said to contain all of the aspects or elements or what have you of the suit itself. And Cups is the water element, so that's our emotions. It's also change, momentum. It's compassion, love, all of that. How we and ill-dignified, it might be, not really having all that under control, maybe passive aggression or what have you. The King of Cups, I feel, is very, very passive aggressive. You never really are sure what you can do with him. Can you trust him? Because when he's able to be trusted, he's very trustworthy. But if he's got his own stuff going on in his head, maybe not so much, right? It encompasses the gamut, not just something positive, but the more negative or challenging traits, we'll say, in the suit of cups and the element of water. But the other thing we also have the star. And the star is the 17th 17th card from the major arcana. I have runes on my mind here. And that gives us 1 and 7 is 8. So that's some inner strength, but it comes from higher awareness with the star. And then in the center, we have card 11, which is justice, and we won't reduce that one. So that's going to be an interesting overall aspect to the reading here today. Numerologically, let me find I think that's right. No? Let me get rid of this thing here. There it is. Let's clear that out. So if we have a 6 for Kenaz, we have a 1 for the ace, plus we have 11. Well, no, we're not going to do 11. I'm sorry. And we've got 17 here. That's 24, so that's 6. 6 would be guidance, compassion, shared direction, things like that. In the tarot, the 6 has a tendency to have an aspect of it in the minor arcana of having unequalness to it. Maybe even the Lovers is the 6th card of the major arcana, and so there could be, you've got higher presence versus the two people in the picture on the card, and so there could be probably an aspect there as well of imbalance or unequalness, especially depending between the two male and female figures. There could also be an unequalness there in terms of patriarchy. Patriarchy is, of course, not wanting to leave. It's kicking and screaming all the way, but some of the things I see these days that people are saying about the role or about the balance between men and women. Women are on the chopping block basically again, and maybe more so than ever. And it's a really odd situation to see. You would think we would have progressed past all of that, but for whatever reason, there's this growing force that seems to want to push women down and give them no rights and things like that. And so again, there's an unequalness with that idea of the Lover's card as well, especially how it's playing out in today's society. So anyway, but that's the energy of the reading. So probably, I don't know that we're going to need to talk about that so much, but I just wanted to add that in just in case, especially because we're talking about how all this is going to impact our future. And since we have 2 cards from the major arcana and an ace is about beginnings. It's the genesis of in this case our emotional presence in the world. We see a dove, the dove of peace, dropping a disc in here. This is another time where you see that cross. You also see it on the front of the high priestess's gown. You see it, and that one is white. This one's black. You also see it in the judgment card on a pennant that is attached to Gabriel's horn as the angel is blowing his horn to wake up everybody out of their coffins so that they can go through the life review, right? I mean, that's one way to look at that card. But here you see this balance here between the vertical line is spirit into ego, spirit infusing into form, and that's where ego comes. But you also have this balance between maybe masculine and feminine energies. And I'm not talking gender here. This is just the energy. You can also look at it, if you're not comfortable with those terms, you can look at it as projective and receptive presence. And you balance that when you're in form, when you're in the body. And try to find some way. I mean, it just does the way it does. It probably has something to do, how that balances out probably has to do with the theme you've chosen. Maybe you've chosen a theme that has more projective energy to it than receptive. And so you have to find a way to let the receptive cool some of that so that you can strike a better balance there. That would be one example of that. But here you see a hand reaching out from the cloud like you do in all ace cards in the Rider-Waite deck. And it's holding a large chalice, a large cup. You see the dove of peace dropping that disc into the water. 5 streams are pouring out. And that's representing, at least in my opinion, air, fire, water, earth, and spirit. It's nourishing the lily pond below, or the waters of life below. We'll say that. But again, it's the beginning of the emotional genesis of the soul as it comes into form. What are the emotions going to look like? What kind of emotional balance are you going to have? How will it then impact your ability to express spirit in your life with Kenaz? And how does that impact your future? Justice is the next card I drew. That's the 11th card of the Major Arcana. Again, with today's numerology, I'm not including that. If I reduce the 11 to 2, bringing it to a lower vibrational number instead of the master number that it is, then the 2 would add to the 24. That would be 26, and we'd have 8. And that would be inner strength. And when I write this up on the blog, I'm gonna include that, both aspects, when I do the numerology. But I didn't want to say it in the beginning without showing the card. This is a higher form of justice. Here you see Lady Justice sitting. She's in her red robes and the green cape on her, around her shoulders. You see her holding the scales in her left hand. You see the red drape behind her. You see the 2 pillars. Anytime you see 2 like that, it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's pillars or trees or mountains or cliffs or what have you, you're talking about balance or the middle way. She's holding a sword completely upright in her right hand. That's the sword of justice. Part of the air element is justice. And so you're looking at a very air-oriented card here, but also fire, invoking here with the red. You see what is possibly the sun up here, but that would be the light of spirit. And she's invoking the light of spirit into her expression of justice. You see the crown on her head. She seems a very severe-looking woman. Almost looks like a man there. But the idea behind justice, you're talking about balanced reason, equilibrium, decisions, legal matters. And with justice, you want to have things that are fair. And so whereas with when you're combining then elements, so you've got the water element with cups and the air element with justice. We're going to move to both the water and earth elements of the star here in a moment. But here you're trying to say, okay, emotionally speaking, your emotions could get away from you, depending, and maybe you don't act with justice when they do. Maybe if it's the ill-dignified side of things, maybe you become manipulative, and that's not going to work out if you do. People aren't going to trust you, and they need to be able. Trust seems to be part of justice, and so with this air element quality here, you need to be able to trust the outcome of something. You need to be able to trust what people are saying to you. You need to be sure that someone is not manipulating you, or that you're not manipulating others, and so. So if you balance the Ace of Cups, the genesis of emotion, you have to realize that with justice, the higher power of justice coming in, it's like you need to make sure that whatever that looks like in terms of the Ace of Cups, in terms of how you express your emotions to other people and compassion and all of that it needs to be without any kind of underhandedness, any kind of manipulation. People have to be able to trust you. And with justice, that card is suggesting that you have to be fair, you have to be balanced. And I know that's assigned to that one media network that I don't think is fair or balanced at all. But whatever, I suppose it's good to have goals. But anyway, from there, once you get those 2 things in order, the idea of making sure, however you're expressing yourself on that emotional level to people, that it's done with dignity and honor and truthfulness and all of that, then People will trust you, and you will have the star. The star is the same thing as wishing upon a star. The star represents our hopes and our dreams. And here you see the goddess in her nude form, and she's pouring water, the waters of life, the waters of love, the waters of existence, nourishing the pond below. And also, she's got one foot on top of the water, which is interesting. She's kneeling on the ground. So that brings in the earth element here. So not only is she using the power of spirit to nourish our emotions here, but also she's doing the same on the ground to increase our groundedness and to understand the collective unity that we share, the collective aspect of self, the collective consciousness that's vibrating throughout our shared existence on this earth. In physical reality, you see a bird up here sitting on the tree. It's adorable. But you see the green grass here, you see the flowers starting to come up, you see the tree there, the mountain in the distance. It's a balance between emotions and how we express that in our lives, how trustworthy we are, and then how we can use that to ground ourselves in spirit. Whereas the star, again, is about our hopes and our dreams, but dreams for what? Our hopes for what? For something positive to manifest in this earthly experience that we're having, this shared earthly experience that we're having with everybody else. And so how we express ourselves with Kenaz affects, with that light of spirit, with that higher awareness, that higher understanding of who we are. It keeps us out of the muck of the ego. You see, and we're not going to be passive aggressive. We're not going to be people that can't be trusted. We're going to be somebody who engages with others in a fair and balanced way, in a way that invokes a level of observation where you observe before you act. The 11 numerology, the master 11 numerology with justice is suggesting that it's about awakening and enlightenment and illumination. And so that aligns extremely well with Kenaz, and we'll put Kenaz right above that particular one. And then with Kata or Kappa Draconis next to that, all of that then affects the rest of our life. It affects our future. Are we that kind of a person, or are we somebody that's challenged and has a challenge with being compassionate to others, or challenged by telling the truth to other people, being honest brokers with others? Are we somebody that's deceptive? The issue of being passive aggressive, there's a level of deception there. They never come to the center with anybody, and so they're always at those extremes. Some usually focus on one end or the other, but you'll see the power. You see somebody who's very passive in that, they can control the room just by their passivity, just by the look on the face. They can control the behavior of other people. It's like, oh no, don't want to upset that person. And what are they doing? Essentially, they're doing something to undermine the conversation or the experience, to make it so they're comfortable. It doesn't matter how comfortable anyone else is. And so that's really a misuse of the water element in our lives, of the suit of cups in our lives, essentially. Instead of being balanced and being loving and compassionate, understanding, and trying to act with the heart. Instead of acting by being manipulative. And again, justice just reinforces that by doing things in higher clarity, with awakening, enlightenment, illumination. All of that is part of the Master 11 numerology. And that's, why I think there's some decks that don't have justice as the 11th card. I think it belongs there. I do. And so I think that's the order it needs to be in, and that's the way it is here. And again, once you figure those two things out for yourself, and you get those concepts and principles, and you're acting with them, you're expressing them as a form of light, of higher awareness, or whatever you want to call it, with Kenaz, then the future becomes more grounded. It becomes more grounded in spirit, and that's what we're saying here. How the star relates to Kappa Draconis. You become more grounded in spirit. Because again, what are our hopes and dreams that the star talks about? there's a level of transformation there with it. There's also optimism and joy, insight, inspiration. What will you be inspired to do with the star energy? How will you manifest your future, in other words? Because what you're going to do implies it hasn't happened yet. That's the future. And so I think that for the reading today, Caput Draconis aligns very well with the star. Kenaz is expressed by the blending of the Ace of Cups and Justice, expressing that light of spirit, allowing that awakening and illumination to inspire you with the star, and to understand that living on that level, seeing things from that perspective, trying to understand the message behind things, is an important thing to do. If you have somebody you're talking to and they're freaking out about one thing or another and it's out of character for them, you can't get angry at them. Maybe they're insulting you, but maybe something's happening that's causing it, and it really has nothing to do with you. So instead of reacting with ego and getting into it with them, it's like, hon, what's wrong? What's going on here? You're not yourself. What's going on? What's happening in your life? What are you upset about? Let's get to the bottom of that. You see, that's the compassionate way to see it. Instead of getting into it with them and arguing with them or taking offense or whatever, just stop. Don't take offense. They're clearly having a tough time. It's like when, for women, when perimenopause starts or menopause is in there, you get a little, crazy at times. You get upset, you get angry. Well, because your body's on fire and things aren't going the way you want them. You don't feel very well. Maybe you got some aches and pains that, they're not helping, And so if the family gets all riled up at mom for doing it, well, what, there's no reason to. She's having a problem. She's struggling. So you see, and that's just because I'm of that age. So that's just one example. If you see somebody getting really upset and they're saying things they wouldn't otherwise say, there's something going on. And you got to look beneath the surface, right? Well, that's really another way of looking at this reading. Going beneath the surface of things and understanding the higher principles involved here. You're expressing that, by doing that, by looking beneath the surface and trying to figure out what's going on with this person or what's really happening in this situation, before reacting in haste, before reacting negatively, right? Pollen's crazy and my throat's a mess. Anyway, I think that's all the reading is trying to say here. How you manifest all of that affects your future. Affects your future in relationships with people. It may affect your future in a job you're in. Being able to stop short of judging, stop short of reacting in a way that just contributes to the issue, ratchets up the energy, in other words, ratchets up the fire, basically. Quench it out, Be inspired. Try to look beneath the surface. Understand the whole picture. And again, if you're on the other side of the equation, if you're having difficulty with that, if you aren't being particularly honest with people about how you see things or what you feel, or maybe you feel like there's a reason you can't be, or maybe your childhood was one where you couldn't be, and so you've come into adulthood and not knowing how to do that. Or not even knowing that you can do that or that's safe enough to do that. It could be something like that. But just understand that your emotions and your intellect have to find a way to connect together. There has to be honesty with both. And then when you're able to do that, either within yourself or to extend that to others, that'd be, Kenaz, extending that to others, then you're able to move forward in a more inspired way, one that is more grounded, and that you can manifest your hopes and dreams in a way, manifest your future in a way that is more balanced and a better equilibrium to things, one where you trust the moment and the moment trusts you, we'll say. So there's a reciprocity there. The 2 energy today for the 2 numerology for May 2nd. I'm not doing the entire numerology, including the month and the year and all of that. I'm just taking the day for these readings, the day itself. That's about reciprocity and love and healing and coming together. You look at the Two of Cups, you see two people coming together in healing. The two can also mean decisions, but it's the decision to look at this, to go within and look at this, how you express yourself that way to begin with, and then how you react to others as well, who may be struggling with something like that. So there's a balance there, between the masculine and feminine, or projective and receptive presence, that allows the spirit to inform the ego instead of the other way around, right? So anyhow. So again, maybe an overall numerology of 24 plus the 11, or if we reduce the 11 to 2, which I hate to do, because I just think it's more powerful on its own. It's an outlier. Then we'll have an 8, which is leadership. It's strength. It's material recognition and approval. It's greater harmony. So you can see how all of that sort of dovetails together, irrespective of how you do the numerology for the reading, that brings us to that level of having a little more control over ourselves and our emotions and how we integrate with other people. And are we honest brokers? Are we not? How are we going to express ourselves? Do we let the light of spirit come in and help us do that or not? So anyhow, that's it. A little ooey for the second reading of the week, the last reading of the week, but it happens. So anyhow, thanks for watching. And again, if you haven't clicked subscribe, I hope you'll do that. I do this again on Mondays and Thursdays. And give it a like if you did like it. If you didn't, well, then don't. Do what you need to do there. But check out the blog over at Stepping Aside. Again, the web address there is imsteppingaside.com. If you forget, click on more below the video, the little more thing. It'll open a window and it says it there. Plus scroll down, you'll see other stuff. But like where I am on social media, because God help me, I'm on social media. But anyway, check out all that and look for the forecast to come out on Sunday. For the week. Also the daily correspondences for work and magic, if you're magically inclined and want to have a little cheat sheet to look at for when the best time to work a spell is. Also, the Exploring Tarot series is winding down. I have a few more weeks on that one. And also the astrological outlook for the week is there. I'm having a hard time saying that. I also publish some of this stuff over on Medium, Patreon, and Substack. On Substack, it's called Witch Notes. Otherwise, it's under my name. And so I guess thanks for watching and have a wonderful weekend. And come back again on Monday for another edition of As Above, So Below. Be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.